Senator J.D. Vance and Usha Vance.
Thank you. Thank you all. Wow. What an amazing crowd. It is great to be in Wisconsin, and we're going to win Wisconsin together on November 5th. Now, I am so grateful to all of you, grateful for coming out, grateful for all the work that you've been doing on behalf of our campaign, grateful for getting your neighbors out to the polls, because we need to get every single person, everybody that we can, out to vote in November. I have a dear colleague of mine who says that we need every single person in this room to vote 10 times. And everybody gets a little nervous and said, well, Republicans don't vote 10 times, we just vote once. But the legal way that you can vote 10 times is to take yourself, 9 friends and family, and get them to the polls. And if we do that, we do it together, we're going to win this state. You know, because that's what's so amazing about the people power that animates this campaign. We're never going to have the mainstream media. We're never going to have the Democrats, allies in the press, but we have the truth and we have the people, and we are going to win Wisconsin because of that. Those are the 2 most powerful forces in American politics. Now, before I get started here, I want to give just a couple of shout-outs here, and the first is you guys have a great state party chairman in this state. Wisconsin, I've met a lot of great state party chairmen, but I want to give a special shout-out to Brian Schimming. Brian, thank you so much for everything that you do on behalf of us in Wisconsin. We've got Wisconsin State Assembly candidate James Rolbecki. James, where you at? Give James a round of applause. Thank you, man. It's great to see young people stepping up into public life. Thanks, man. Good luck to you. You're going to do great, and you're going to make a great public servant for the state of Wisconsin. God bless you. Now, you've got a great congressman here, and I'm going to call him up in a second to offer a few remarks. But if y'all remember, the last time that I was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, I made a nice little stroll over to Kamala Harris's plane. Do you remember that? Now, that was pretty fun, and the reason that I did it is, if you remember, at that time, Kamala Harris had been the presumptive nominee for about a month, and she had done 0 media interviews. 0 interviews with the press, 0 questions asked and answered, 0 opportunities for her to take advantage of to actually talk to the American people. And what kind of person wants to be the president of the United States but is too afraid of friendly American media? That is a disgrace. And we should not promote Kamala Harris. We should say to Kamala Harris, you are fired. If you're too afraid of the American media, you can't be the president of the United States. Now, it's funny, though, not a whole lot's changed. You know, Kamala Harris has gone from giving, I think, 0 interviews to maybe 2 interviews. And my favorite thing about Kamala Harris's interviews is I think that we win about 100,000 votes every time she answers a question. Because, you know, the difference, there are all these differences, all these policy differences, all these things that I could point to. But you know the biggest difference, I think, between President Trump's campaign and Kamala Harris's campaign? It's that Kamala Harris speaks to the American people like they're children, and we speak to the American people like they're fellow citizens who deserve our vote and deserve our respect. Because, you know, they'll say, well, Kamala, Vice President Harris, what is your plan to lower the inflation caused by your policies? And she'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family. I believe in small business. And then everybody with an ounce of common sense is saying, well, you didn't answer the question. Or Kamala Harris, your policies led to an increase in energy prices, an increase in housing prices. What are you going to do to change that? Give us the specific idea of what you're going to do. And she'll say, well, when I worked at McDonald's, I loved making hash browns. And all the American people want, I think, from a person who would pretend to lead them is to actually answer some tough questions and stand before the American people and ask for their vote. And that's what she refuses to do. Now, I will say that I sympathize with her a little bit, because if I had Kamala Harris's record, I might run for the American media too. And let's just tick through let's go through the details of the public policies that Kamala Harris has pursued to make us weaker, to make us poorer, and to make our country less safe and less secure. Because this didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen by accident. The open border in this country did not happen through an act of God. It happened through an act of Kamala Harris. What she did is on day one, she said, we're going to suspend deportations. We're going to stop Donald Trump's remain in Mexico. We're going to encourage the asylum fraud that has opened the American southern border. And on day one, she did exactly what she promised. And now Wisconsin and every other state is dealing with the consequences. On day one, remember, Kamala Harris said they were going to go to war with American energy. They were going to explicitly raise America's energy prices because she wanted us to go green. Now, never mind the fact that a lot of the green energy she wants us to buy is from solar panels manufactured in China. Never mind the fact that the electric vehicles that she wants us to drive are from EVs made in China. She promised higher energy prices, and that's exactly what she delivered. And remember, after the most successful 4 years of American foreign policy, we had peace in Asia, we had peace in Africa, we had peace in the Middle East, we had peace in Europe under the leadership of Donald J. Trump. What Kamala Harris did is that she did a total 180. She promised that she was going to undo the foreign policy of Donald J. Trump, and now we have chaos across the world in a country that is on the brink, I really do believe, of World War III. We are closer in this moment to a nuclear war, to a third world war than at any time in our country's history, and we have the chaos and incompetence of Kamala Harris to thank for it. I say we get a president who knows what the hell he's doing. I say we get Donald J. Trump back in the Oval Office. Now, before we go much deeper into the record of Kamala Harris, I want to bring up a great Wisconsin representative, a great patriot, and a great human being. Congressman, why don't you come up and say a few words to this great crowd? Derek Van Orden, ladies and gentlemen. God bless him.
Thank you, sir. All right, what'd I tell you? This is why we like J.D. Vance here. He started in some of the meanest circumstances you can possibly imagine in the United States of America. He joined the military, he made something for himself. He's got a great family, and he loves his country. The reason we like Donald J. Trump here is because he has built America, and he will defend us literally with his life. He got shot in the head for us, and he said, fight, fight, fight. When you gentle people leave this place, I want you to look around at God's creation. And I want you to look at these beautiful rolling hills. And I want you to stop your car. And I want you to look at that hill. And it doesn't matter how long you look at that hill, the cavalry is not coming over the hill. Because the cavalry is in this room. So, Mr. Future Vice President, I'd love having you here. You are always welcome. We will fill you up with cheese curds to the point where you're not going to be able to walk. Give my best, our best to your family and to President Trump, and God bless you, sir. And let's go win something!
Now, you heard Derek tell a little bit about my backstory, and let me just tell you a little bit more, because one of the reasons that I am so proud to stand here is that my story is very much an American story, and I believe that my story is impossible anywhere else but the United States of America. We still have, as much as our leadership is trying to destroy it, we still have the American dream in this country, and this election is about preserving it and building upon it for the next generation. Now, my American dream was not to write a best-selling book. It wasn't to start a business. It wasn't even to run for vice president, as awesome as it is. My American dream was to be a good husband and to be a good father, to give my children the things that I didn't have when I was growing up. Now, it would have been impossible without the great bounty and incredible kindness of this country, from public school teachers who took care of me to the incredible opportunities of the United States Marine Corps, and Semper Fi to all the Marines out there. But it very much would have been impossible without the love and the support of a very, very strong woman, my grandmother, who took care of me when my mom couldn't take care of me. God bless you, ma'am. And I know between the fentanyl problems, the opioid problems, or sometimes just the circumstances of life, we have got, even in this room, some strong grandmas and some strong grandpas. Let's give it up. Thank you all. God bless you. We love you for doing what you do. For taking care of kids you didn't necessarily plan to take care of. We love you for it. We're grateful for it. Look, I don't know that I ever said thanks to my grandmother, at least not when I was a snot-nosed kid. But I wish that she could see this room and this crowd today. This is a great testament to our country and a great testament to what is possible in the United States of America. I shouldn't be here, my friends. I shouldn't be standing up here, but I am, because this is the greatest country in the world. Now, my grandmother, for those of you who haven't read anything about me or heard anything about me or missed my RNC speech, she was a woman of many tensions. She was a woman of very deep and profound Christian faith. My grandmother also loved the F word. And, both of those things were true. And I needed both. I needed the discipline. I also needed the love. I needed the Christian faith, and I also needed to be cussed out from time to time, because I was very often a kid who was not making the right decisions. And thank God that I had my grandmother to put me on the straight and narrow. But because I grew up in a family where money was often tight, and because I grew up in a neighborhood where things weren't always easy, I see the problems of Kamala Harris's economy and Kamala Harris's open border differently, I think, than a lot of leaders in Washington, D.C. Because I remember when my grandmother was negotiating with somebody from Meals on Wheels for a little bit of extra food so that she could share with her grandchildren. And I wonder, for the millions of families across this state and across this country who are struggling to put food on the table, what does your life look like when groceries get 25% more expensive, as they have under the policies of Kamala Harris? And as much as things weren't always easy in my neighborhood, one thing we always had, because we believed in this country, Democrat or Republican, rich or poor, every single child deserves to grow up in a neighborhood with basic public safety. And that is maybe the most dangerous thing that Kamala Harris has done to this country. Because she wants to defund the police, and because she has waged war on law enforcement, and because she has opened up that American southern border, we have taken from every American child what should be their birthright in this country. We have taken public safety away, and it's time to give it back to them, and that's exactly what President Trump is going to do. Because I want to tell you a story, of course, of a person who, of a family that has been affected by Kamala Harris's open border. And I want to tell you a couple stories, actually, because it drives home how much we have failed. Our leadership has failed this country. Now, if you watched the Republican National Convention a few weeks ago, you probably saw this incredible, beautiful, brave mother who had just lost an incredibly handsome young man, a 14-year-old kid, I believe. And she lost that 14-year-old son of hers because he died of a fentanyl overdose. Now, I saw some trolls, some very mean and sick people on the internet, on social media, talk about how this child died because he made a mistake. He took drugs, and those drugs were laced with fentanyl. And I think, first of all, how disgusting do you have to be to attack a young mother who's talking about her beloved child? But more importantly, don't all of us want to raise our children in communities where they can make childhood mistakes and not have it claim their life? I am the father of a 7-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, and a 2-year-old baby girl. And I love them with all my heart, and I know, like every single kid in this country, they are eventually going to do something that really pisses me off. It's just what happens when you're a father. In fact, they do that every single day right now, and they're only 7, 4, and 2. But I want them to grow up in a country where the streets are safe enough where they can make a mistake and learn from it rather than have it take their life. And that is what we need. We got to get back to public safety in this country. Now, I want to talk about another story because it's so close to here in Wisconsin and it drives home that every community is a border state. Every community is a border community because the problems that Kamala Harris has imported through that American southern border have now gone nationwide. I talked to a local Wisconsin law enforcement officer just a few weeks ago. He said, we're arresting Mexican drug cartel members an hour outside of Milwaukee, and you realize Mexican drug cartels are operating outside of Milwaukee. And we have, of course, the town of Prairie du Chien. And earlier this month, I'm sure I'm not telling most of you something you don't know, earlier this month, that town felt the sting of Harris's open borders. Because an illegal immigrant, a gang member from Venezuela, crossed the American southern border. He went to Minneapolis, was not deported because it's a sanctuary city, thanks Tim Walz. He went to Madison, Wisconsin, and was not deported because it was a sanctuary city. And then he went to this small Wisconsin town and committed sexual assault against a mother and a young child. He should have never been in this country, ladies and gentlemen, and when Donald J. Trump is president, all of them are going home. We're going to deport the criminal migrants in this country. It's just so simple. This is not rocket science. That guy, if you look at his rap sheet, his criminal arrest record, he had every red flag, every siren was going off. Not only should he have not illegally immigrated into our country, but he should have been deported after he was arrested. And he wasn't, thanks to the policies of Kamala Harris. Now, what kind of a person wants to lead this country but pursues policies as vice president that allows a violent criminal illegal alien not just to set up shop in our country, but to not be deported after he commits a violent crime? What kind of a person wants to lead the United States of America but wants to bankrupt Medicare by giving it to illegal aliens and encouraging people to stay in this country? What kind of a person says that she supports law enforcement, but just a few short years ago attacked law enforcement and said that she wanted to defund the police? And what kind of a person says that she stands for working people in this country, but thanks to her policies, the cost of everything from food to housing is unaffordable for the majority of American working families? What kind of a person does that? Her name is Kamala Harris, and we will not let her anywhere near the White House in this country. Now, I think the contrast here, the contrast between President Trump's policies and Kamala Harris's policies, it's really just unbelievable. I mean, Kamala Harris wants to suspend deportations. Donald Trump wants to re-implement deportations. Common sense. Kamala Harris wants to spend trillions of dollars and hundreds of billions of dollars on Chinese-made electric vehicles. Donald Trump wants to manufacture more in the United States of America, build America, buy America, and support American workers in the process.